Welcome to another episode of Field Phone Ops, and today we're going to talk about quick disconnect cables for SB22s and P183 LP10 switchboards. It's just something somebody asked about and I said I wasn't going to do, but I thought about it and said, you know what, let's go ahead and do this. Okay, quick disconnects. Like I said, I wasn't going to talk about doing this, but I'm coming up for a show and I decided that, you know what, let's talk about it. Okay, it allows for easier and faster installation and removal of the switchboard. You don't have to run individual lines from the switchboard to each phone, which saves time. It ensures continuity each time. So you build these cables, and every time you connect and disconnect, it's always the same. So you don't have to worry about, well, which phone is going to which line on the switchboard. Very economical and easy to fabricate using easily available parts. It'll work on basically any of the switchboards, military ones that have binding posts on. Here's a list, BD71 and 72. I have mine on my SB22s, on my P183 and LP10 switchboards. And like I said before, it cuts my switchboard and field phone display setup and backup times in half. Trust me, it's worth it. Okay, this is basically what it's looked like. I have my SB22 stacked, and so you have on the far left you have this cable right here that's on the large connector is connected to the phones themselves, and it just locks onto this connector that's built on the switchboard. My SB22, because I have so many lines, I have so many connectors. What I'm going to basically show and demonstrate on this video is the one right here for the LP10, and that just basically uses a cable that runs up inside of it that stays connected all the time, and you disconnect these two connectors down here to go ahead and make your connections and such. This is basically what it's going to look like when it's done. This is my P193. It's a little bit different than the LP10. I have a handset that locks inside here and connects up, because you can actually talk, you don't have to have an external phone. And this has a little push-down binding post versus the screw-down ones that are on the LP10. But you can basically see what I did. Each cable, each one of these wires is a phone. And it breaks to each binding post. I have them labeled so I know which one goes which. So for any reason, or actually when you're building it and it's time to put it in, you know where to connect everything. Or for any reason, if you want to remove it, you can remove it and put it back in. Another thing about these switchboards, they make a connector right here that allows you to do the same thing, basically a quick disconnect, run the lines with one connector going here instead of having to do this. I have one of these on order. It's supposed to be coming from the Ukraine. When I get that in, we'll do an actual video on setting this up so you don't have to do this kind of wiring. But in the meantime, this is what we're going to talk about. What makes this possible is right here is what's called DB sub-miniature connectors right here. These have been around since the late 50s, early 60s. Very prevalent in data communications in, well, the early days in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even in the 90s. Modem, multiplexers, just about anything that had a data connection had some kind of a connector on it like this. Come in different sizes. They come in a 9-pin, 15-pin, 25, 37, and a 50. And there's actually a male and a female end of the connectors. This is before times where people get upset about this, and they basically would lock together. What was nice about them is anytime you put something on this, like pin 1, actually pin 1's right here, put something on pin 1, whenever you would plug these two connectors together, it was always pin 1. So basically, they really standardized data communications, and the same thing works for this. They're different, male and female. There's different ways to put the connector on. There's crimp and insert connectors right here, which you have to have a special tool. And you crimp these little, either a pin or a socket onto the end of the wires, and they clip into the connector shell like this using a special tool. Solder cup, which is straightforward. You just solder each little wire to that. Patience required. If you use a crimp and insert or a solder cup, you've got to put a back shell or hood on it. This basically locks around this part of the connector and gives you a way to secure it to the whatever you connect it to. It also protects the wire connections on the back. Or my all-time favorite right here is the screw type terminal. These are awesome because basically The wires are held in by a little screw. You loosen the screw up, strip the wire, put it in there, screw it down tight. When you get everything done, this one is a screw together connector, so you'll take this cover and it goes on there, and the screws and nuts lock it in place. They also make ones that are clip ones or plastic clips. You put them on there, you snap them together. You can use those. I've used those. If I do that, I usually put a couple runs of electrical tape around the connector to keep it from popping apart. Okay, let's talk a little bit more. This is the idea here. I talked about the on the pins and connectors. This basically it is right here. So each wire you bring it in for your phone line would have two wires, and the ones I'm using, they're colored. There's a red one and a black one. So this would be how you do it. This is phone line 1. You connect it to pin 1, pin 2. Phone line 2 gets connected to pin 3 and 4, and so on and forth all the way down the line. For an LP10, you'd stop, of course, at 10 because you don't have any more lines beyond that. If you're doing an SP22, you do 11, 12 right there. That's how it looks. On the connector right here, so this would be phone line 1 going on there, phone line 2, phone line 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on, all the way down. Basically, so you have them similar as this right here. And the most important thing is what size connectors do you need to do this if you want to do this. And if you have an LP10, you have, or an P193, you have 10 phone lines or 20 pins or sockets, you're going to have to use a DB25 connector. If you have an SP22 with 12 lines, you're going to have 12 phone lines. You have 24 pins or sockets, again, DB25. If you're doing like I do, I have an SP22 that has 17 lines on it because it doesn't have the operator pack. You're going to have 34 pins and sockets, which means you either need to use a DB25, which you're going to fill up all the way, and then overflow onto a DB15. Or you can use a DB37 connector, just one connector. It's up to whatever you want to use. Okay, let's talk about the switchboard end of the cable right here. Basically, I start out, I'll take and I'll cut 10 wires. We're going to be talking about doing an LP10. 10 wires, roughly 14 to 16 inches long. And on the binding post end, this will connect to the switchboard. I'll usually strip back the covering to expose about 2 inches of wire here. Then you're going to expose about an inch here of the bare wire, because this is what's going to fit inside your binding post on your switchboard. On the other end, a little bit different, you're going to strip back take the outer covering off to leave about 4 inches of wire, and strip back roughly 1/4 inch here. What's going to happen is this end is going to fit inside one of these slots right here. And the reason I leave it long is because it's tough to try to stick 10 or 12 lines all together through this hole when you close it. So it's easier if you go ahead and make it long enough so that the outer insulation doesn't appear to out maybe an inch, 2 inches out from the connector. Then what you do is you just take some electrical tape and you wrap from here, 6 inches down to cover everything up when you're done. They give you instructions. It tells you instructions on how to put stuff together. And then this one is a snap together, so you'd snap it shut and throw a piece of electrical tape around it to secure it, and away you go. And that's for the switchboard end. Once again, it looks something similar to this. Give you an idea. Okay, the field phone end a little bit different. I cut them about 10 feet long. And the reason I do 10 feet is because I usually buy basically a 100-foot roll of wire, so 10 10-foot pieces. And also 10 feet for me is when I have my display set up in the basement, it can reach all my phones. So that's one of the reasons I do it. And the phone end, it's basically the same way. You're going to strip back the outer covering to expose about 3 inches of the 2 inner wires right here. And you're going to strip back an inch for bare wire here, and an inch is about the perfect length for you to go into a field phone binding post, whether it's got the ones you've got to wrap it around the binding post and screw it down, the little insert hole or clamps or clips or whatever. That seems to be about the right length to be able to do it. The DB25 male is going to connect to the cable on the switchboard it's installed. Same way, 4 inches, plugs in the same way. And then I add the label on here. I put line 1, because this is going to be the phone line 1. And I also put the phone type on there. And I did this because I'm almost promised help in setting up for displays. And it's easier to get the phones in place and then tell people to hook phones up, and all they have to do is match EE8 to the EE8 phone. So that's why I did that. And the other thing about doing it like this is I like these mechanical splices, because I've been to shows where I get set up and I'm like short. I'm too short a wire. So I have to extend it, and I have a whole bunch of pre-cut pieces about, I have, I think, 6-footers and 8-footers that are stripped on each end, have the bare wire, and I just throw a splice on there and I can finish the distance. Also, for any reason, if you wanted to connect, say, real field wire, so you want to take some WD-1 field wire and put it on here, it'll work with these clamps, or these splices, and away you go. Okay, here's my SB22. Like I said, this is a little bit weird because I embedded the connectors in them. I didn't want to have a cable hanging out. That's just how I did it. So actually there's a rubber seal in here that I removed. And this one's actually got a DB15 in it, a female solder type. You can see where I soldered it right here, and it's embedded in the thing so it doesn't stick out very far. And then this side's got a DB25 female, but it's the crimp and insert ones right here. So this takes care of basically 12 lines, and then this one right here takes care of the other 5 lines that won't fit on the DB25. Now, I have been talking about taking and upgrading and putting a DB37 in and just calling it quits, but I don't know if I can do that yet or not. That's for another time. This is the list of the parts. These are fairly inexpensive and fairly easy to do. You'll need some 22 gauge. This is the wire I use. You can look on it. Like I said, everything's on Amazon. 100 feet, depending on how much you want. Connectors right here. These are clips, or clip together ones, male and female. If you're going to build one for switchboard, you need one of each cable, because the connectors will clip together to give you the phones connected to the switchboard. Also, the heat shrink tubing, which is nice when you're doing your labeling. I have an actual labeler. So I'll print little labels out and put them on there, or if you want to, you could take a piece of clear tape, or not clear tape, but white tape. You can hand write them on and see them. But anyway, it's an easy way to label stuff. Labeling saves everything because it makes it so much easier to install stuff. You need some electrical tape, like I said, to wrap the wiring coming out of the connector. It's just a good deal of wrapping it. Gives it a little bit better strain relief and protects it. And of course, these compact splices, which I've gone over in another video, are awesome just for general purposes when you're installing stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, contact me here. And also, I am willing to construct these if anybody would want to buy one like that. Thanks for watching.